Whoop whoop! Varmt
Halloj!
välkomna till kväll is a big one, som de säger i Amerikat. Hur är läget med dig då, Moa?
Nej men det är ganska dåligt. Jag är fortfarande ganska sjuk. Jag trodde att min sjukdom försvann i fredags när jag gick på ett colombianskt bröllop och fick 40% i rom i handen. Det första jag gjorde klockan 15.00 på dagen. Och sen när jag vaknade upp på lördagen fortfarande ganska berusad och valde att gå ut igen, så trodde jag också att jag mådde jävligt bra. Men sen igår så insåg jag att jag är ganska sjuk fortfarande. Så att, ja, nej men det känns. Hur mår du?
Okej, kära, bara så att alla vet, Moa försökte alltså ducka dagens sändning med kombinationen av att hon då var sjuk. Men hon var inte sjuk nog för att inte gå på bröllop. Hon var inte sjuk nog för att inte gå ut och festa. Men hon tyckte att hon var sjuk för att inte vara med på sändningen.
Men jag var på väg att bli frisk. Sen drack jag alkohol som sänker immunförsvaret i 2 dagar i rad. Och jag drack ganska mycket. För att colombianer är helt sjuka. Alltså det var skitkul dock. Men fy fan vad jag blev nersupen. Alltså det var jävligt kul.
Oh, right. I am so sorry. I completely forgot about this. But today's broadcast is in English because we have some... sorry about that.
Well, okay. Hey, everybody. So Otto totally forgot to mention this to me. So I guess we'll do it on English. We were just talking about how we were feeling.
Yeah. My bad. I was last week. I had this set down, and then something happened this weekend, which made me completely forget about today's show being on English, because we are going to watch a interview that Moa did with some Americans. It's Justin Hartfield, the founder of Weedmaps, and and Andrew DeAngelo, one of the real big names when it comes to the American cannabis legalization. So it's gonna be magical. We have just a small couple of news that we are going to run by today before we before we start the interview. But first, I'd like to say that next week we will have the leader of the Pirate Party, Katarina Stensson, with us. That will be in Swedish. It's for the upcoming EU elections, where both me and Katarina are candidates. We also want to send out a huge thank you to Dr. Herbals, one of our friends who is sponsoring Cannabis in Focus.
Thank you.
Yeah, so thanks a lot, Dr. Herbal, for all your herbal needs. Dr. Herbal got it all. But yeah, for the record, Moa loves speaking English. She's so confident in her English.
God. Yes,
so
very much. And especially, I'm super confident when Otto tells me that I need to speak English in the middle of the live show, because as the viewers we got, I mean, if you've seen our live shows, you know that I always am the person who finds out everything the last, because nobody tells me anything at this company. So, am I surprised about this? No, not really. So, well, we'll see.
Yeah, we have a couple of news that we are going to run through. Just some big stuff that happened this week before we're going to start the interview. So, Mr. Tech Guy, if you would please roll the first news. And it's I will translate this from Swedish to English. The legalization of cannabis becomes an EU question, and we're getting closer and closer to the EU elections, and it's more and more obvious that whether the politicians want it or not, cannabis is going to become a real big question. A bit later, we're going to talk about some stuff in Denmark that they've been doing, but also in Sweden. all the big questions that voters are interested in can, in one way or another, be solved with cannabis. So even though we have zero, elected politicians that want to talk about it today, it is going to be the stone they cannot leave unturned.
Yeah.
Do you have any comment for this, or should we just move on?
No, I think it makes so much sense that cannabis has a place in most of the subjects that they're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So moving on then. And this is about what I was just talking about. It's Danish Folkepartiet, Folkepartiet Alternativet, that are also aiming at the EU election. It's a green party that wants to. They want to join with the pirates in the EU. In the EU, if they get elected. But it is quite funny because they have really taken a stance on cannabis. I'm going to quote Jan Kristofferson, which is their top candidate. It's a human right to be able to light a joint. That's what he said. And we're not going to play it for you guys, mostly because I think I will be the only one who understands it. But the party did release a rap. They did release a rap.
Did they?
Yeah, but we're not going to show it here because I'll be the only one understand it. But if you want to, you can go to cannabisfokus.se and find the article about the Danske Folkepartiets Alternativet that is aiming that are going for cannabis in the EU election, and you can find the link to the rap there. It's
oh my god!
It's just as corny as you think it is. It's exactly as corny.
It seems super millennial to do like a rap for your opponent.
Yeah, it is. And I would also say that, Jan Kristofferson is he's sort of a clown on TikTok as well. So I can relate to him a lot. I'm just saying, as a candidate, I can relate to him a lot. But the thing that he really does well is when he speaks to journalists, he really gets it down to the square. And yeah, he's great. Do you know anything about Danish politics?
No, I don't.
Nah.
No, I'm not really involved at all. I think maybe mostly in Swedish politics, but I couldn't even say that I'm super involved in that either, which I should be.
I was just going to shame you a bit now, what you know I love to do. We currently have 8 parties in our Riksdag. Can you name them all?
Oh, okay, sure. The Social Democrats, the Swedish Democrats, Moderaterna, the Center Party, the Kristdemokraterna, the Left Party, the Environmental Party, Miljöpartiet, and the last one is... Wait, I need to put it in Swedish.
What's that?
I need to count it in Swedish. Wait. Sossarna, Vänstern, Miljöpartiet, Moderaterna, SD, Kristdemokraterna, Centerpartiet. Liberalerna, the Liberals.
You got it. Okay.
Why wouldn't I be able to name them? Are you kidding me?
Well, I just like to put out the minefield, Sometimes you hit it, sometimes you don't. This time you go through the minefield. I'm proud of you.
Though, so,
I'm not sure that all my friends could name all 8 parties, actually. Some are just... They're just completely uninterested in politics, some of them. So, yeah. Well, moving on from Denmark so that we can get to this interview. This is something really big. Curaleaf goes Sweden. Curaleaf, which is one of the real giants when it comes to the cannabis business, they announced that they're expanding to Sweden. This is something that is really, really, really big. This could mean a lot of things, bad and good. I would hope that Curaleaf would also engage in the legalization campaign, of course. But we will see what they do and how they do it. Of course, if I get to choose, I would like them to just shovel money onto me, but I don't think that's going to happen. But a boy can dream.
Yeah.
But we will see. But Cureleaf has announced that they will be opening a clinic. What we do know, though, is that Cureleaf has some things to do with Hemply. Hemply has something to do with David Bonnier. David Bonnier has something to do with Sapphire. So if this is something to do with Sapphire or not, we don't know. So perhaps it will be an expansion of that business. Perhaps it will be a completely own clinic. We will see what they do. We will see what they do. I am excited, to say the least, because this is. I mean, I couldn't even. If you're not aware of what Canaleaf is in the North American market, you're gonna be. It's an immense step, and this really is big cannabis taking a few steps into Sweden. That is also what worries me,
Yeah,
because like
exactly.
in all businesses, when the big boys come into play, they usually push the little guys out.
They do. So
Yeah, but let's hope they do it well. Um, yeah, moving on. Think I got some more news. Yeah. DEA report shows that the average THC content in illegal cannabis is 16%. This is not something that is very surprising to me, but I do not know how accurate it is. Because I do know via some testing that, for an example, I did myself when we were to Cannabis, that there is cannabis which is stronger. So this is an average, but I do believe that what they wanted to say when you read between the line is that legal cannabis is way stronger than illegal, and that I think they have achieved on the North American market.
yeah. But isn't it this rumor that here in Sweden we have illegal cannabis that has really high THC halt?
Well, I have tested some of it, and I have other friends who has tested it. And I don't mean tested as and smoked it. I mean tested it as sent it to a lab. And
Yeah,
the thing is, we have great cannabis in Sweden, and I think that has been due to Christiania mostly, because Christiania has historically been a real port into Europe. I told you this, but when I was in Amsterdam for many years ago now, when I was I don't know if I I got an opportunity from a very large American cannabis company that wanted to. I don't think they wanted to buy me off, but I don't really know why they invited me. But they invited me to Amsterdam. I lived in a suite at the Mervenpick Hotel. Those of you who knows what an awesome hotel that is. Um, and yeah, the thing is that I went to three different coffee shops with their representatives, and it was set up meetings. So the coffee shop owner had the best of the best uh, to offer us, and I was not very impressed. I wasn't really. And basically, because all of the other guys were impressed, I would say that Sweden is just, we have great weed in Sweden. And
yeah,
also, I've been around the world a lot, and there's a lot of places where I have been disappointed when people of other nationality in the same travel group have not been disappointed, which also allows me to think that, well, maybe we just got the great stuff in Sweden. And OJ Bobbin says it's all about the terps, not THC. I would agree with you on that. Is the entourage effect is a big part of it, OJ Bobbin. But to say that it's not about the THC at all, that's not really true. Well, let's move on.
yeah.
And yeah, this is the last news that we're going to run before we get into the interview. And there's a study that 87 of festival visitors are planning to use drugs, and cannabis is the most popular choice. And alcohol was not in this study. I'm not very surprised whenever which rarely happens because I hate sleeping in tents, but whenever I go and see a festival or whatever, there usually is a lot of drugs. And I do believe that I live in sort of a bubble because whenever I go out and meet people who recognize me, there's a lot of people who really want to take a joint with Otto, and I can understand that. I can definitely appreciate it, but it also gives me a sort of a wonky vision of reality because all I see is cannabis smokers all around.
Yeah.
Um,
Isn't smoking cannabis at a festival, especially in Sweden, pretty inconvenient to do? I mean, it smells a lot. You have it around. I feel, don't most people do Molly or Coke or ecstasy because it's more convenient to take at a festival and it gives more this kind of pumped up feeling and the visions. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I've been to many festivals in Sweden. I don't feel that cannabis is a huge part of it. Maybe if you go to like Öland Roots, yeah, sure. But even when I went to Emmaboda Festivalen, which is kind of a hippie festival, it's not much weed because it smells a lot. It's
as somebody who is from that area, I wouldn't call Emmaboda a hippie festival. I would
it's not a
a
hippie, but
drug.
you know what I
Yeah, but
mean.
it's nothing. It's about drugs there. We
Yeah,
even call it Boda.
I,
I mean, Erland Roots. That's what I would call a hippie festival.
yeah.
Emma Boda was just dirty.
I will never forget when a civil cop, is that the word in English? En civil polis,
Undercover police, I think, is
an
the word you're looking
undercover
for.
cop, yeah, was searching my tent, and his outfit, it was this white man, and his outfit was this rasta hat with these dreadlocks going down, and they had this dog, and I was like, what the fuck are you doing to my tent? And they're like, oh, nothing. And I was like, but why are you having a dog in my tent? Are you mad? Because one of my friends who was there had some stuff in his tent, so they searched ours as well, but we didn't have anything because I'm a good girl, I guess.
And you let the guys hold it.
Yeah, obviously. So yeah, it was pretty funny to see the undercover cops there because they were so bad at it. They sucked. So
Yeah, and the thing that Rasta hat with the wig attached to it,
yeah,
that's like classic by now. I don't
yeah,
know which police officer, I mean, looked at that in the store and said, "This is
this
what I'm gonna wear.
the best.
Nobody's gonna see through this." I mean, like, what
Oh,
the actual
come
fuck,
on.
dude?
Yeah, they're super bad at their job at the festival.
Yeah.
I mean, they're so yeah. But was that the last news?
Yes, I am pretty sure that it was. So
Oh,
we have an interview that Moa did,
yeah,
that we are going to show you now. It's an interview with, first of all, Andrew DeAngelo is involved. Andrew DeAngelo and his brother Steve DeAngelo is, well, this can be debated in hours and days, I think. But I would say that those two brothers are more or less responsible for starting the cannabis wave in California.
yeah,
At least they were a huge part of getting it legal there, and he is a well-known name in the cannabis industry today. He is helping out build companies and pushing legalization. He was at Stockholm Medical Cannabis Conference that we arranged in 2022 as a speaker. So yeah. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend this interview, but Moa, Andrew, and Justin Hartfield was. Justin
yeah,
Hartfield, as I said before, he is the founder of Weedmaps. A very easy way to describe Weedmaps is like Foodora, but for or Uber Eats, but for weed. You can both go in there and find the restaurants or the doctors and see some ratings on them. But you can also, if your state or place or country allows it, order some home delivery from it. Hashtag dream.
Yeah, and we also have a lot of information about strains and cannabis in general, which is really great. It's very informative.
Yeah. And now that the European market is slowly opening with Germany, along with all the other countries that are always going there, but Germany is a huge country, so it's yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know.
So Justin basically started this new concept called weed.de, which is kind of Weedmaps, but for the German market. So we talked a lot about his new website and his visions. And for me, it was just this great honor to be able to listen to Andrew and Justin. I feel like I could just sit there and listen to them talk all the time because obviously, but they've been in the business for like 20 and even 30 years. So, and for me, who's only been doing this for 3 years, it was like a very huge thing for me. And I was so nervous. I was like shaking because obviously I'm not very well spoken on English when I'm nervous. So, but it was a good experience. It was, and it was very educational for me. And I'm the interviewer, and I was the one. I learned so much from them.
Yeah, pretty normal. I will be answering questions from the chat via the chat. So if you're wondering anything or whatever, you can just write a question, and I will hopefully get my tech guy to link you the answer. But until the interview is over, me and live Moa will disappear.
Yeah.
Um,
Wait,
and
I
we will.
I
Huh?
just want to read this comment here. Leo S says, Instagram took the best name for weed delivering service.
That's true. That is very true. That is
Super true.
very true. But I will also say they took the best name for just drug delivering services. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a gram, it's instant gram. So yeah, Leo, I completely agree. Um, but yeah, Mr. Tech Guy, Tech Whiz, whatever, just roll the clip, and we will see you after.
Let's start off. What are your thoughts on the current state of the European cannabis market?
I think that it's in a kind of a pivotal moment right now because Germany is going to be the first mover and I think the rest of the countries are kind of waiting and seeing on what's going to happen in Germany. And I think not just the legalization in the cannabis social clubs, but also the medical market is going to be a big player and is going to expand and become similar to what it was in California, where people are getting the medicine that they need, patients are getting the medicine they need, and also recreational users are enjoying the quality and the tested GMP certification the of the brands that are going to be coming into the pharmacies more and more. So I think there's a lot of growth happening in Europe, and particularly Germany, and so hopefully Germany gets it right.
Yeah. Do you
Real,
think?
real quick on. I just want to follow up on that, Moa, real quick.
Yeah. Nice.
So up until now, Justin, there's been a lot of stigma with doctors and patients. I want to talk about the medical market a little bit. There's particularly in a country like Sweden, where the patients are afraid to ask for the medicine because they don't want to be stigmatized and labeled as a stoner or whatever. The doctors are afraid to write, even when they believe in the medicine, they're afraid to write. We've seen this pattern in other countries besides Sweden, certainly England. And I'm wondering how you're predicting a lot of growth, right? So do you think that what's happening in Germany with the clubs and full legalization will reduce that stigma between patients and doctors, and that's why you're predicting the growth? Or what is the growth driver that you see for the medical?
I see. What the legalization did in Germany, which I think is the biggest effect that no one's really talking about, and you kind of hit this. Your question really points to this, is that it removed marijuana from, it descheduled marijuana and made it just a medicine, and it treated it like a non-Schedule 1 medicine. So now a doctor has the ability to prescribe cannabis through telemedicine and not through a face-to-face visit like they had to before when it was a Schedule 1 narcotic. So that's going to open up a huge world of people that were in chronic pain, or they couldn't afford it, they couldn't go to a doctor, or people that couldn't afford to see a doctor can now, via telemedicine, get the prescription that they need and then go to a pharmacy and get it filled. It's going to be a real game changer.
Great. That's exactly the kind of detail I was looking for. Thank you.
Yeah. Do you see that the legalization of the recreational cannabis in Germany will influence other European countries?
Boy, I hope so.
Yeah.
I think everyone's waiting to see what's going to happen in Germany, and Germany is, they're taking it very slowly in typical German fashion, and they're going to try this experiment in Berlin, and I think it's the right thing to do. And when they see this guy doesn't fall down in Berlin, they'll see it won't fall down in Hamburg, and it'll it's good. I think. Going to inspire a lot of other countries to try it.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, we can look at Switzerland, and in France, they have the pilot recreational projects right now. So I feel like maybe in 2-3 years, we can see great results from that. I think that will also inspire more countries. Hopefully Sweden. But
really, but I want to kind of zero in on a little more detail. I'm the detail guy here. So 2 or 3 years, is that realistic, or are we talking about 5, 6, 7 years? Europe's a big place with a lot of countries and different viewpoints on this.
Yeah. I think it's more realistic to be kind of 5-year plan on this one, but I think in Germany it's going to expand quickly. I think 2 or 3 years the German market is going to rival the California market, for instance.
Got it.
And if we talk a bit about your company, WeDE, how can a company like that contribute to the positive development of the cannabis industry in Europe?
I think that have the responsibility to be good stewards in the industry and really prioritize education and safety and transparency, because we have an ability to, and because it's sorely needed, because it's been oppressed for so long in Germany. People don't know how much THC is needed for one person. They don't know what you should do around edibles. And I think that we can help put those best practices of what we've learned in the United States in play in Germany, and do a lot of education. Because I think that's the biggest thing right now, is just the German people don't know that cannabis is medicine, and they don't know that it's been medicine for thousands of years, and it's something that they can use now legally. So it's just a really exciting marketing thing, where it's just it's available. So in that way, I think we can shape public perception and be that company that people trust.
So let me just follow up on that one real quick. Could you just give like a 2 or 3 minute elevator pitch on the vision for what you're doing with in Europe?
Yeah, I mean, I want to be the place where you go for marijuana content if you speak German. And, that's everything from the patient who has a prescription potentially being subsidized from the government, public health prescription, and all the way down to somebody that just wants to get out of the black market and doesn't know anything about marijuana, just and just knows that it helps them for a certain reason, or maybe they saw it help their friend or their family member and they wanted to learn more about it. We want to be that resource. And so, it's really going to encompass everything, and businesses big and small are already on the platform. And we're just building something that is kind of unique because there's just such a lack of information in Germany about cannabis.
And if we look at Weedmaps, it's been like a great significant player in the US cannabis industry. What inspired you to kind of do the same in Germany?
I see such a similarity between when I started Weedmaps in 2008 and when I started DE last year in Germany. It's because the markets are kind of at that exact same place where it's finally legal enough for consumers and producers and retailers to start growing, maybe just starting up really. And there's going to be some amazing innovators that create, hopefully, the next Harborside Health Center, in Germany, and I think that's going to be, and I think they're going to be inspired by what they saw in California too, and really kind of hopefully take the best of what we've got and and make it their own unique thing.
Yeah. And if we look at how does weed differ from Weedmaps, have you faced any different challenges when you enter the German market?
Yeah, very much so. In America, they appreciate kind of a bold entrepreneur that is kind of in your face about what they believe in and what they believe to be right and the way things should work and how they're going to disrupt everything and blah, blah, blah. That's the pitch that works in America. But kind of the opposite pitch and the opposite style is what really works in Germany. And that style is kind of more holistic. It's more, let me prove it to you first. Then you'll believe me. It's more, let's establish a relationship first before we immediately do business, and it's, and that's what we're doing. We've been working with some of the biggest pharmacies and some of the biggest producers since we started because we just really respect and value what they've done and being the first movers in quasi-legal business takes a huge amount of gumption. And we wanted to help them with what they were already doing well. And so that's kind of where the place we're coming from. It's like, what are you guys already doing? What do you need the most help with? And we're going to be the place that fits right in. And a lot of times it's different than the needs that are in the United States. So it's really been interesting to learn about the consumers and the businesses in Germany and how they're different.
Well, what can you illuminate a little bit what those differences are and sort of what you've experienced with that?
Sure. Basically, on the consumer level, Germans really care about, number one, the quality of the product. Is it been tested at a laboratory? And then number two, what's the story behind it? How was it sourced? How is it packaged? Who's the person behind it? Those are the two super most important things to Germans. And then everything else is kind of, there's kind of everything else other. In California and the United States, it's always price first, and then it's branding, and then it's, you know, kind of something else. And so you can't fool the German consumer. They are very, very savvy, and they're very conscious of what a high quality GMP product should be, because they're used to high quality food standards and vegetable standards, and you know, marijuana is a vegetable basically, and you know, so in that way, it's been refreshing, because in California for so long there were no standards, and a medical patient couldn't be guaranteed that what they would find in a medical marijuana dispensary would actually be free of mold or fungus or something that could potentially be very harmful to somebody with a compromised immune system. In Germany, that's never a problem, because everything has been GMP certified in an incredibly thorough and detailed and expensive way. And the downside is it's going to keep out almost every small business from entering the German market. And
on the medical side, you mean?
Yeah, on the medical side, and then the social clubs are going to be they're supposed to be very restricted, and they have to grow on site, and so that's going to be kind of the opposite model. Like they really want to inspire a small local entrepreneur. So it'll be really fascinating to see how that plays out.
So the social clubs have to grow on site, or can they be decentralized amongst their members?
No, you got to grow on site, literally at the same place, just partitioned with a wall.
Like the old Denver model, the old Colorado model.
Yeah, exactly.
Except you can have consumption there, which you couldn't do in Colorado.
That is an incredibly important piece that Colorado missed.
Okay, so I just want to recap real quick, and if I get anything wrong, Justin, please correct me. Medical market, Germany and Europe, well, Germany certainly, high prices, GMP standards, intense lab testing, patients that's all transparent to patients. Everybody knows what GMP is. Everybody knows how to read the lab testing reports. People care about where this come from. Did it come from Bedrocan? Okay, what's Bedrocan? Who is Bedrocan? Oh, okay, they've been doing it for a while. They seem all right. All right, I'm going to buy this product, right? So and it's going to be expensive. Now, in some cases, the government might pay for it. I don't know. In some cases, maybe not. And so that's the medical side. Then on the social club side, it's almost the opposite. And in terms of intention, right? There's a limit of 500 members. There are a limit of 1,500 plants, I believe, right? I just learned this, you have to grow on site, which means you have to find real estate that will accommodate that, right? And then you can also have consumption in those models, and hence the social part of the club experience. And these probably will be collectives with leadership, and would resemble something more like a small business. All right, good. I got it right.
You got it exactly perfect.
All right, thank you. All right, next question.
Next question. Well, it is. If you could share some insights on how weed has been received by German consumers and businesses so far.
It's been overwhelmingly positive. I'm happy to report, because we've been so humble and just saying like, can we help you? And please, they've been super nice and have let us into their businesses and kind of like, here are some of the pain points, here's some of the things that it would be awesome if you could solve. And so that's been great, like being able to work with real entrepreneurs that are in the business right now, and some of the biggest, most important, I would say, pharmacies that are doing it in Germany and being able to work with these guys and try to help them, that's cool. And that's basically, in from the consumers, we launched with a really cool campaign in all the major airports in Germany before legalization, and basically it was just a billboard campaign that tried to explain the benefits of legalization to the local citizens. Like it would mean X amount of free park space, or or it would mean this amount of tax dollars to Berlin. So that was well received among the public and the pharmacies because they saw us trying to influence the public in a positive way.
So you were allowed to take out ads at airports for this advocacy.
Exactly, because it was political.
Aha. Not every country in Europe can do that, I don't think. I don't think you can do that in Sweden. So that's a huge advantage, and you were very smart to do that. I remember my brother and I, we wanted to educate folks at the Oakland airport, San Jose airport. We were not allowed to do that at all. Even if it was educational in nature, wasn't even political in nature, just educational, we still were not allowed to do that. So it's so interesting how these things are different in different places, right? And I want to go back to how you were received, because I'm sure you've experienced, we have this saying in management and leadership of a business, when someone new comes into a business, there's a cycle of storming, forming, norming, and performing. I'm sure you've heard of that, Justin. And so you get a new job, and all of a sudden you have like a little bit of a honeymoon period. There's like a month or two or three, and then all of a sudden resistance, right? And you start to have a storm because people are like, who's this new guy? And why is he asserting himself? What's he doing in my face, man? And then if you're a good leader and you're a good manager, you work through that and you get to a place of norming, right? Where it's normal. Okay, I'm here. I'm integrated. And then once we're integrated and we're normal, we can perform, right? We can bring it. So I wonder where you are in that cycle. What were the first 4 weeks like when you're in the country and you're like talking to people?
That's a great question, man. Probably storming. The first couple of weeks.
I mean, because you're a foreigner, right? You're coming into a foreign country, and you're an American, and sometimes we're viewed great, like awesome, thank you for your expertise. But other times, it's like you guys are loud and obnoxious, and so forth.
Yeah, totally. It's funny. When my first time in Germany, I wasn't as well received as when I came out here now. I think it was my American flag Vans shoes or something like that. The first time I came, it didn't really ingratiate me with the local population. But I got smarter, and now when I come out, I have friends that own some great businesses that I'm able to check out. And the first one of which that really got me interested in the German cannabis market was Cannabis. And David Henn, the CEO over there, is amazing. And I think Cannabis they're kind of doing the most in terms of they've been the most out there, and they have some of the best products on the market that are the most well received by the German public, and some of the highest THC strains that are some of the most sought after are Cannabis. And people know that the best Australian weed is distributed by Cannabis. And so it's super cool to be able to like see the business from David's point of view, and then he introduced me to a lot of people from there. And so now it's, now everybody knows about us. They begrudgingly accept us. They they were initially really curious because they're like, Justin, you cost a lot of money to a lot of clients in the United States. Like, we're kind of worried that you're going to charge us a ton of money and, just bully us around. And so that's why we've tried to come in and say, like, no, like, we don't know this business like we did in America. We're trying to make it, we're trying to help you make money. So, like, we're not going to come in and ask for lots of money every month right off the bat. We want to figure out this thing together before we want to make you a dime before we make a dime. So I had the luxury of doing that this time because Weedmaps was so successful before. When Weedmaps, I had to kind of, at the same time as I was building the product, I had to sell it, even if I knew some of the wheels were coming off. Now I have the luxury of being like, okay, I'm building the product exactly the right way, and with the right type of security measures, with the right type of specs, with the right team, and I don't have to it's not just like me and one of my friends, updating code, with no subversion check-in and in the middle of the night, and God knows, like getting paid in weed and all that shit. That was what the business was in 2008.
Great, that's super helpful detail, Justin. And it sounds like you're norming and getting ready to perform.
Yeah, let's say that.
Great. Could you tell us a bit about the key features? Is that how you say it? I don't know. And services that Weed offers to its users, and how do they, what can I say, cater specifically to the German market?
Yeah, I mean, we've got all types of users, and cannabis is like, when they say describe your average cannabis user, it's just like, that's the biggest joke I've ever heard in my life, because every person from every walk of life that you've ever heard or thought of has used it. And so, and the cannabis businesses are so varied, and so there's so many, B2C and B2B, and so, when you go on weed.de, we really try to put you where you need to be. We're partnering with Genetica in the United States to bring some kind of AI tools to weed.de, so it'll better understand exactly where you want to go, ask you a few questions, and then zoom, off you go to where you really need. Because there's so much like questions, even if I would say I want to grow plants in my closet because that's legal now. Where do you start? And so we want to try to help you do that. And so we've got great license knowledge base on the site. If you're a medical patient, of course, you can upload your receipt and get a refill. If you're not a patient, you could find a doctor to get you a prescription. And if you're a power user, you could search the strain database by whatever terpene you want, by whatever THC percentage that you like, by whatever CBD percentage you like, find the exact medicine. And, most importantly, I think right now is find the price. People want to know where the pricing is, and we're the only site that delivers real time pricing to the people. And of course, in Germany, medication is all supposed to be the same price. But in reality, there's a huge difference in pricing per gram for the exact same strain. They came from the same plant. It's important for consumers because a typical cannabis consumer spends hundreds of euros a month on cannabis, and because it's been a black market product, it has a huge margin. It's a super expensive vegetable, and so people are really interested in the pricing, and that's when they create an account and log on to weed.de, they can see the pricing, and so people love it.
Are people able to transact on the platform yet, or no?
You can make a reservation for pickup or delivery or shipping or whatever you like through weed.de, but you can't, for legal reasons, do any transactions yet.
Got it.
Okay. Do you have your eyes on entering another market in Europe, like an up and coming cannabis market?
What a luxury if any other country in Europe decided to have a legit medical system or a recreational marijuana system Obviously Malta and Luxembourg, they legalized marijuana, but not the producing and the retailing of it. So it's good because it's good so you don't get possession, but it's not a real business, and it's not something that is going to alleviate the black market, which is what the Germans were interested in doing.
Yeah.
Spain's supposed to have a medical program this year. Nothing's happened so far. I think, Switzerland's going to expand their program. But I think a lot of people are just waiting and seeing on Germany, and I really don't think there'll be a lot of major movement until the German experiment, or what they think is the German experiment, happens.
So what does success look like in the German market enough for other countries to flip and start adapting what the Germans are doing?
I think that's a great question, and I think success for me would be to reduce the black market in Germany, and I think that even the cops would agree, even though they fought tooth and nail against legalizing it, and the doctors and all of them, they're still against it. They're not gonna do any reversals if they get a hold of government, if the right gets a hold of the government. So I think it's going to be if they establish a market that is legal, and there's no major scandals of minors buying or tainted weed, or armed robberies, and our industry does a good job to safeguard the patients and the recreational users. I think that just by taking it out of the shadows and putting it into the light, to quote your brother, that's going to be enough, because that's all that needed to happen, is to take the criminality away from it and to let these people do what they want to do, which is buy, sell, grow marijuana the way God intended. And even though it's very far from that, the system is very far from that in Germany, it's still good enough so that it will allow an amazing amount of freedom and entrepreneurship around the plant. And that will inspire many other governments to do the same, because no one's going to overdose on cannabis and die. And a lot of people that were against cannabis, they're going to see that it's nothing bad happened, and there's more money ended up in the government coffers.
Yes, I think this is very important, because in a country like Sweden, there's a good chunk of the mainstream population that associates smoking a joint with ending up being a bum in the gutter.
Yeah.
When I was in Sweden for the Arium Life Medical Cannabis Conference, the first Sweden Medical Cannabis Conference, which we're going to have another one, Justin, just so you know. We definitely want you to be a part of it, and DE to be a part of it in many different ways. But I was struck when I was in Stockholm talking to people and just seeing media reports and just how bad the stigma is, right? And so I think it's not just, I hope you, I'm asking, but I'm also saying, we got to tell the story of Germany throughout the whole EU and the wider world, because we want this to spread as quickly as possible, because there are people getting busted, there are people going to jail in these other countries. There's a whole pressurized underground system that needs to be relieved, right? And then you've got a lot of people that are sick and need the medicine that are too stigmatized to get it. So do you have plans to engage the press or in other methodologies to tell the story, right, so that it happens faster.
Totally. I think that's a great point you brought up. And our new CEO, Richard Cowan, who's been a member of Normal and who's been a dear friend.
Oh my God, Rich, Dick is your new CEO?
Yeah, Dick is our new CEO
God,
because we need to be very political about this. And
we go way back, man. Me and Richard go way back. I love the guy. Good choice. Good choice.
He's the best. Yeah, and so we've already got 5 or 6 articles from Richard that explains to Germany why they call it marijuana. They have no idea that a racist named Anslinger used the word to try to make it seem like it was a racist drug that only the Mexicans used, right? So Dick's going to tell stories that German people they're going to really flip out when they hear the truth behind the marijuana prohibition, because so many people just take it for granted and think marijuana's always been illegal and you've always been. It's crazy what people think, and so we've got a lot of it's going to be education on the harms of prohibition, and as Dick says, just how right we are.
That's great.
Well, yeah, I'm thrilled to hear that he's your CEO. Just for the audience, so they know, Richard Cohen was the head of Normal, which is the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, the oldest marijuana reform organization in the United States. He was the executive director of that organization for many years in the 1990s. And he has a background in economics and finance, and he is going to be a wonderful face for weed.de, and is somebody that we got to get to speak at our conference, and is a great leader that I think Germany and Europe are going to bond with in a really good way. So I'm glad to hear that. Do you think the press, the mainstream press in Germany or Europe, are going to cover this?
I got a pretty good press team, and we've got some pretty good ideas on how to get our word out there. And so and now I think it's not even about the press. It's just about taking his articles, making them short form videos on TikTok and Instagram, animated, and making it palatable for the current generation so they could educate their parents. Because it's going to take everything. It's just like it did in the United States. It take 1% of the people flipped from prohibition to legalization every year. So so every country in Europe, we just have to kind of wait. And Sweden, we might be waiting longer than most.
Yeah.
So is your press team your internal team from the United States, or do you have local press folks working with you, or is it a little bit of both?
Yeah, mostly people working here in Germany. It's just such a totally different thing that what works on an American audience totally being different. So yeah, and the news outlets are totally different here too. So
great.
I mean, in Sweden, I think when Germany legalized, they were like, they're legalizing drugs in Germany. Everybody's going to be a heroin addict. And I was like, no, it's not like that. Even my coworkers were like, oh my God, they're going to smoke weed everywhere? That's horrible. And I can't say anything because they will fire me if I speak up with it. So
yeah, the dialogue there is so backward. It's similar to kind of the United Kingdom a few years ago before medical. Now, as more and more patients get on the media, it's similar to Charlotte's Web. It really takes a doctor that the nation's familiar with and a story from a child or from a real patient that really that shows how effective cannabis medicine is. then that kind of like sparks a debate. It's like, oh, it's not all bad. It's like, what do you mean it's not all bad? You're like, oh, look at this clip, right? So it's going to take so much in Sweden.
Yeah, it does. I
But it
mean,
could
we do
happen.
a lot of patient interviews all the time, but it's still.
They won't air them. Okay, they won't
No,
air
they
them.
won't.
They won't
And
air them yet.
block us everywhere. We can't reach out on social medias, on TikToks, because they what's it called, shadow ban?
Shadow ban you, exactly. We're all shadow banned.
I'm shadow banned in the United States, so you're not alone.
Yeah, exactly. It's really a sad situation when the truth gets shadow banned, and
So this is what I learned, and Justin, I'm sure you learned this too, because you're from Orange County, or at least you went to college in Orange County, which is about as conservative as it gets in the United States, with the exception of the Deep South. Okay, but change happens first when you're in a situation like you are, Moa, where you can't even be an advocate because you're afraid to lose your job. We have to do it around the dinner table with our families.
Yeah.
So that's where it starts first, because you can't get fired from your family. You can get disciplined. You can have conflict, but blood is thicker than water, and that's where change starts to happen, especially if there's someone using the medicine, right? And the family knows that this person's suffering in the family. They love that person. They don't want them to suffer. They're against marijuana, okay? But then you come to the dinner table and you say, look, this is the first time I have found a medicine that's really working for me. It's easing my suffering and it's helping me live a more normal life. And I need that. And the family members, all of a sudden, the mind and hearts open just a little bit maybe, because it's someone they know. It's someone they trust. It's not a media report. It's not me as an evangelical of cannabis talking about, it's not burner. It's somebody in their own family. And so for everyone listening in Sweden or any other country in Europe where we have this kind of stigma, remember, your bravery starts at the dinner table with your family.
Yeah.
Well said.
Very well said. That's why I got my grandmother smoking weed with me. It was very fun.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, that's exactly right.
Yeah. Well, it will be a change. Soon it will come. Sooner or later. I mean, we can't hide forever. It's not gonna work.
That's right. And one of the things I observed in Sweden, and it's the same all through Europe, and it's the same in the United States. Okay. You have elected officials, you have people in power. They also have communities that they're aligned with. Maybe it's churches, maybe it's economic folks, maybe it's certain industries, certain businesses. And I call them the elites in a society. And they're the hardest ones to convince. They're the because they have the power, and in the muscle memory of that community of elites is prohibition in a huge way. 100 years of prohibition, or maybe in Europe's case a little bit less than that. But and this guy Harry Anslinger, he's the one that got prohibition into the UN treaties in 1962. And he's the one that has influenced the war on drugs and the demonization of cannabis and the demonization of really a beautiful word. Marijuana is a beautiful Mexican word with a wonderful heritage. And he turned it into the other. And that's our journey as cannabis patients and even stoners, is that we are not the other. We are you. We are you. We are not the other. And so once we, and you're right, Mo, it's going to take years and years and years. It's taken years and years. I started this 40 years ago. We still don't have federal legalization in the United States. I thought it would be done by the time I was 30. I was like, this is 5 or 10 years, man. We got science. We got, we got everything on our side. How can this take so long? But it does take a long time, and it does take a lot of courage. You were talking about the early entrepreneurs, Justin, coming in. Takes a lot of courage. Takes a lot of courage to start an association. Takes a lot of courage to be a pharmacy that starts selling weed to patients. And so, Europe is in a crossroads right now. Germany has laid it down. Okay, Germany has it was a straight line from prohibition to hell, and then Germany went boom and put another road in there. And so we're at a crossroads right now in Europe. And it's about having courage to walk down the road of justice and freedom. And it's going to happen at the individual level around the dinner table in families. It's going to happen at community meetings. It's going to happen at churches. It's going to happen when you go watch your kids play football, and you're talking to parents or talking to each other. This is going to come up, and this is where the courage happens. And this is what we've seen as an evolution in the United States. So anyhow, next question for Justin.
The next question is, well, Justin, if you could look back on your journey with Weedmaps and now Weed.de, what has been the most rewarding part of your experience in the cannabis industry?
Definitely getting messages from people that the website has helped. I had no idea how many homebound people there were in California in the United States that couldn't leave their home for so many different reasons that needed cannabis delivered to their door. And I think that was kind of the thing that struck me the most, is just how important cannabis delivery is for people that just can't make it to the social club.
Is that allowed on the association level or just the pharmacy level right now, Germany?
There are services that will courier your prescription directly to your house in Germany right now.
Okay, great. Do you think that will be allowed on the association level too, or probably not?
I have to check the law on that.
Okay.
I think there's some disagreement around that actually, but the intent was to have it all consumed there at the social club.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for aspiring entrepreneurs who are looking to enter the cannabis market, maybe particular in Europe?
Well, just do it because you love it, not because you want to get rich, because there's other ways that are easier to get rich that are less of a headache than dealing with a quasi gray market that's highly stigmatized. And, a lot of people look down on, sadly, people that are in the marijuana industry. Right now in Germany, I've had the same thing that happened in California when I was trying to build a business. I just couldn't get the best people hired for the job because they didn't want it on their resume, and there's still a lot of stigma. So just do it because you love it, not because you want to get rich. And And if that's the case, then you'll probably do really good.
Oh, you'll certainly have longevity. I love the plant, and I love working with the plant, and I love patients, and I love stoners, and that's my community. Those are my people. I'm not a wealthy man, even after Harborside, even after, I'm not a wealthy man. I have a great life, and I'm a happy man. So I, as someone who's, further along in their career than a lot of younger entrepreneurs that are going to be hitting the scene right now in Germany, it's very good advice, because it takes a lot of love and passion to overcome the obstacles and the stigma that's going to be thrown your way. No matter, I don't care who you are and what your skill set is, somebody somewhere is going to consider you an enemy and an adversary because you're working with this plant, and they're going to come after you. It might be a neighborhood group. It might be a newspaper. It might be a reporter. It might be a competitor. It might be any number of things. But it will happen. And if you're just in it for the money, you'll scratch your head and you'll say, hold on, I can go do something else to make a lot of money. Why do I have to sit here and get punched in the face over and over again, right? But if you love it, you're like, hold on, okay, let me talk to this person. Let me start my educational process. Let me get my press team together to respond to this negative press story. Let me do an interview. Let me get my patients in front of the camera. Let me put this fire out. And you don't put it out with money, although it's helpful in some instances to have resources, depending on how intense the attack is on you. But it's overcome with passion and love and creativity, mostly creativity. And, one of the things cannabis people have in abundance usually is creativity. It's one of the things that this plant sort of, I don't know, it does something to your brain, and it makes you more competitive. I mean, creative, more cooperative. We still all have to compete, and that's part of being, an animal on this planet. But more cooperative, more creative, and I think that's another skill set for entrepreneurs. What about like some nuts and bolts advice, Justin, on like raising money? If I want to start an association, right, in Germany, I need to pool some resources together to get that real estate, to get the grow equipment, to find, all of that, right? Do you have any advice on that front?
Well, it's like, if you have the wherewithal to start a cannabis social club, you probably have like multiple lawyers in your retainer, because the barriers to entry are almost that high. It's similar to in New York City, maybe not like $1 million per license, but it's you need to be a real dedicated business guy to be able to put together, or lady, to be able to put together something as complicated as a cannabis social club, because there are multiple moving parts, including growing plants from the earth, which I think is one of the hardest parts of the business. I know is one of the hardest parts of the business. And then you've got to deal with all all of the complexities of retail, shrinkage, employment, consumers. I mean, Andrew knows more than most. It is a real challenge.
Well, I'm here to help any entrepreneur who needs help with any of the. It's kind of like a micro business license in New York, is what it feels like. with the associations and the clubs. But and there's entrepreneurs listening to this, and so look, call it €1 million to open a club, but you have 500 members. That's €2,000 each. You start to break the number down into smaller pieces, and it feels more manageable. And there's no doubt that capitalism requires capital. If you don't have that, you can't be an ism. So it is important, but the idea of the collective and is that you pull resources together, right?
Yeah, that's the idea. In reality, but on weed.de, we're going to be building out a Shopify type experience for new businesses that just want weed.de to take care of the business for them, and so we're creating tools that are going to be helping small consumers reach audiences and sell products that they have no chance reaching right now because they're banned from Amazon or wherever.
I see. So that would be in the association model. You'll have that.
No, these are businesses that might be accessory businesses, or they might cater to the associations, or they might sell rolling papers or vaporizers, things like that. All the other the other businesses around it, and there's so many.
Oh yeah, a ton.
Yeah. So my last question for you, Justin, it's a bit personal, so you don't have to answer if you don't, but I would love if you could. What strain do you personally prefer most, and why do you prefer it?
Well, boy, it's like choosing between my children, right? I like a indica. I appreciate indicas at night, and I love a sativa during the day. So anything from Greenhouse Seed Company or Barney's Farms for breakfast. Haze, the Neville's Haze collection, incredible. And
one of my favorites too.
I mean, perennial taste and experience. And then at night, an indica. To me, the pinnacle is Hardcore OG from West Coast Cure, and that's one of the few that I said, like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like what is this? I need more. But OGs and OG Kushes from California in general, for me, it's hard to beat. That's where I'm from. So.
Yeah. And if you could recommend a strain for somebody who's just starting to use cannabis in a recreational way,
I always recommend Blue Dream. Blue Dream is the one they're going to find the most in most places, and it's going to be usually the lightest out of almost everything. You can almost say Blue Dream will be the one that you want to start with.
Yes, Blue Dream tends to have lower potencies and a really nice flavor. It tastes really good on the palate, and for new users and people that are experiencing these products for the first time, or for the first time in a legal market, Blue Dream's really good because it's got a nice euphoric feeling to it. But it's not so strong that you have the risk of being impaired instead of just pleasantly stoned.
That's nice. God, I can't even believe that you can in the US go into a dispensary and get different kind of strains and I would like a strain with low THC and high CBD. I would be like, what?
I know it's really hard to imagine in a place like Sweden the experience of and it's an incredible experience of freedom. And when the you know, and one of the things that happens, certainly we did it at Harborside, and Weedmaps did it, and we had a wide selection of products. I mean, we would have 35, 45, 50 different flower strains. We'd have, 30 different edibles. We'd have 30 different hashes of various different extraction methodologies. And you go in there and it's just like, you feel like it's like being in Willy Wonka's chocolate factory as a kid, right? And then so first you get really excited, and then the second thing that happens is, oh my goodness, I'm overwhelmed. There's so many things to choose from. What am I going to spend? What am I going to spend my limited budget on? And that's where that's where the bud tender comes in. That's where Weedmaps comes in. That's where online you can educate yourself before you go into the dispensary. You can get a real sense of what the lab test results are, what the terp profile is, and you can start to hone in on being more specific with your choices, and it does feel a little bit like heaven.
I bet, because I saw on Weedmaps you have like so many different categories, like this strain you should have when you do the barbecue, and this is when you do hot yoga, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess. Good, because I feel like a misconception in Sweden, which I educate my viewers on every Monday, is that when we speak about cannabis in Sweden, we speak about cannabis. They're like, oh, cannabis is bad for you. You can't smoke cannabis. But what kind of cannabis? Like, I smoke a lot of cannabis, but I only smoke CBD. I don't get high. They don't understand the big differences that you can have. There's hundreds of different types of strains, the hybrids, the indica, the sativa, the different cannabinoids, that doesn't exist here. So it's, people just assume that if you smoke cannabis, you get high, which obviously it's not true. If you look at me, I use CBD and I'm not high, because there's no, it's this they have to cut out because I can say that.
Well, look, it's a complex plant that does lots of different things, and that's part of the education that you're doing, Mo, and it's very important. It's part of the education that Justin and Weedmaps and Weed.de is going to do and is doing now. And if I told you how many educational conversations and webinars and conferences and that both Justin and I have done, it's got to be in the thousands. And you're because it just takes so much repetition for your audiences. People don't get it the first time. They get it the fifth. They get it the fifth time. They get it the 10th time. They get it when they know somebody. They get it from a family member. They get it from a podcast. They get it from many different sources before it all clicks. And now they're a convert to the cause. So that's been my experience, right, Justin? I mean,
100%. It's just like my girls, they have to. It takes an average a child to try a food 10 times before they'll accept it. So if you don't offer it 10 times, then that's not good enough. You have to, and I think that's just like people. Like, you need to tell them 10 times that cannabis, it can be smoked without THC, because they just the first 9 times you say it, they'll be like,
yeah, that's been my experience too.
Well, thank you for this. It's been amazing.
My pleasure. Thank you for all you're doing in Sweden. Boy, they really need it, and I'm going to try to support you as best I can. Maybe we can translate some of the best articles on WeDE into give them to you, and you can translate them to the Swedish audience. We can exchange some content or something.
Please, we would love that. That would be very much appreciated.
Awesome. All right,
That'd be huge, Justin. It was great talking to you, man. We haven't had
Yeah.
a chance to do this before, so I'm really pleased. You're such a leader in the industry. You've done so many amazing things, and I really enjoy being able to jam with you a little bit.
Likewise, man. I really respect what you and your brother have done for the industry, and not just the industry, but just educating the public at large about the benefits of cannabis. I think you guys have been hugely responsible for that, and over the last 20 years. So kudos to what you guys built and continue to do.
Thank you, man.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow. Moa, du har glömt avmuta dig själv.
Så, nu.
Ja.
Hej.
Wow, vilken intervju. Alltså det är lätt för mig som insatt i branschen så att säga. Jag vet ju vilka de här två människorna är. Som sagt, jag har träffat Andrew, inte mycket ska jag inte säga. Vi träffades ju ganska mycket under Stockholm Medical Cannabis Conference där vi pratade mycket. Och jag har ju följt både honom och hans bror på avstånd. Och samma sak med Justin. Jag minns ju när Weedmaps startade och hur jag trodde att det skulle gå käpprätt åt helvete för dem. Men alltså de har ju verkligen båda två. Alltså, jag känner liksom att jag har klampat i uppförsbacke i hela min karriär i det här 15-åriga eller 20-åriga, jävla länge det nu är jag har slagits för den här jävla frågan. Men alltså det här är ju grabbar som har simmat motströms i uppförsbacke liksom. De har ju verkligen lagt grunden för det arbetet jag gör nu. Så att det är liksom det är lite som att träffa två stycken eller sitta och kolla på två stycken idoler. Så att jag var ett start när jag träffade Andrew, vill jag minnas.
Ja men verkligen.
Bobban skriver det riktigt bra, Moa, och jag håller helt med. Även om du själv är lite, ska man säga, wait, Moa, we're speaking Swedish again.
Oh my god, I forgot.
Why are we speaking Swedish again?
I don't know why. I truly don't know, because we have so short-term memory, because wonder why.
Me too. I've been listening to you and them speaking English, and still I went on speaking Swedish. Don't even know why. Sorry about that, all our international viewers.
Sorry.
Well, it's a sort of new thing for me as well. I've been streaming in Swedish mostly. OG Boban is also writing, Otto, you're gonna reach legendary status in Sweden some beautiful day. We'll see. I've told a lot of you guys about my long-term dream. There's been a lot of, I want to say, accusations about me just doing this for the money. If anybody knows where all that money is, please tell me, because I haven't received any huge amount of money for this. But my long-term dream and goal about this is that I want to have my own cannabis brand. I want to have Otto's Weed, Otto's White Widow, Otto's Jack Harrer, Otto's Blue Dream, as they were talking about. Actually, a strain I haven't tried. I got really curious about that one.
Yeah.
So hopefully, OG Boban, you're right that I will someday reach legendary status and will be able to have my own weed brand. But we'll see. Sweden has to legalize first.
Yeah. Well, you can open it up globally. It doesn't have to be in Sweden. You can do it in Germany.
Yeah, but I think that it would be really hard as a Swede to go to Canada or America or Germany for that to be and
true.
And launch. The thing is that I want to be able to launch something and people should already know me. So
Yeah, I get it.
It's good to know that you're always right with those kind of predictions, OG Boban. But another thing I found really, really interesting was the last piece of information that you talked about there, that Justin really wants us to translate some of his work to Swedish. That's going to be amazing to do. Translation is what we do best.
Yeah.
And to all those criticizing about that, I would love to have 100% own written articles and no translation or referrals like that. Then again, let's get back to the first thing we spoke about, all that money that people seem to think I'm making out of this.
Yeah.
Could use some of that money to hire some journalists.
Yeah.
So then again, looking for it everywhere. If somebody's seen where my money has gone, please tell me, because
Show us
they didn't
that.
reach me.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was a good interview. I mean, I was so nervous, like I said, so I think I barely remember so much of it. And now when we showed it, I didn't see it because I can't stand seeing myself on video or hearing myself. It's just
We have our own diva here at Cannabis in Focus. That was like the first thing Moa said when she left. Like, oh, please call me when the interview is almost over so I can come back. And I was like, seriously?
but I can't. I feel like I'm so annoying.
Set a
I hate.
fucking alarm.
Yeah, but whatever. Okay, I'm not a diva for
Emma.
it. Now I sound like an
Yeah.
American, but I'm not a diva for asking. I mean,
But no matter how you felt, you did a great job. It was very, very interesting to see. I noticed that we didn't have super many viewers today, but hopefully people are out enjoying the Swedish summer nights
yeah,
since the heat is starting to come, and they will watch this after, because
yeah,
I really feel that if you want to know more about the cannabis business and how companies are grown and what kind of obstacle you stand in for, Justin really did a great job explaining how
yeah,
it works. I mean, he didn't give you a 1, 2, 3 to-do list, but he did as close as you could. Um, it was a really nice interview, and yeah, Justin really knows what he's talking about. Angelo really knows what he's talking about. Andrew,
Andrew.
Andrew. Then
But I also said Angelo before, but it's because of
yeah,
his last name.
his name is Andrew, Andrew DeAngelo. But he also is a great, super knowledgeable person about this. So yeah, it was a real power couple. So I can understand that you were intimidated, because I mean, I
Yes.
I usually get told that, oh shit, you know everything about cannabis auto, and oh, you know so much about cannabinoids and stuff like that whenever I speak to people. But I
That
mean,
is the
my
relevant.
knowledge is ain't shit versus these two
No,
guys.
no. And I don't even know half as much as you do. I mean, if I'm speaking with my friends, with other people, obviously I know everything about cannabis and I can explain everything great, you know, especially about the industry in Sweden, etc. But with these two men, I was like, oh, I don't have anything to say. I don't have anything to contribute with right now because though they were slaying, okay, now I sound like a Gen Z, but they
I was
were.
just about to comment on that word, the S word,
Well, it's
S
a
word.
good word sometimes, but
Fucking
no,
TikTok generation.
a bit. But it was yes,
Yeah. And wow, I didn't notice before. It really looks like I am either embarrassed or have spent the entire day in the sun.
yeah, maybe.
Or half the day I did, but I did not burn my face as I look like a
But do you
crawfish.
have SPF on? Do you have sunscreen on every day? I hope you have.
I am a man. I do not use that kind of things. I do not
Why
read
are
instruction
all
manuals.
men like that? Oh, I don't need sunscreen. I don't need it because I'm so tough. No, shut up. Shut up. You need it, obviously. You don't want to age too fast, okay?
Okay. Well, I haven't burned myself yet, and I plan on using it whenever I do burn myself.
But you
So
can't. You have to prevent it. You can't just use sunscreen when you're burned. I mean
I
that's
understand what you're coming from. The thing is, Moa, I was abroad a lot when I was a child,
oh, okay,
so
that's why.
I have pretty good skin for the sun. So don't
Oh,
worry about it.
okay. Okay. You're so posh, being abroad so much when you were little. Good for you. But still,
I was a
I
real
mean,
spoiled kid. I mean,
yeah.
most of you people wouldn't understand how spoiled I was. Um,
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter how spoiled you were or how much you were abroad, you still need sunscreen like everybody else because we're from Sweden. Okay?
Actually, Denmark, but yeah.
Oh, well, yeah.
Well,
But another
yeah,
thing, like during the interview, I went out for a walk because I needed to connect with the nature a bit. And can I swear in this live stream?
I think I did a couple of times. So yeah.
Yeah. Fuck me, how many mosquitoes there are. They were attacking me in my head, and I think I got the mosquito bites in my head, and they were everywhere. And yeah, that's what I just wanted to say, that they were attacking me. And now it's itching on my whole body.
You need to stay close to me more.
Yeah, they don't like you.
They love me. They love me so much that nobody else around me will get bitten. I
Oh,
have had nights here in Cyprus where people have said, "Well, there's no mosquitoes here. It's so nice." And I walk out of there with 25 to 30 new mosquito bites.
oh, nice.
Mosquitoes love me.
That's good. Well, they seem to adore me too. So yeah.
Yeah. Now suddenly a mosquito bite on my foot started to itch. Wonderful.
Well,
Well, if you have to pick out one thing that you thought this was really wow about the interview, what would that be?
oh, this is a hard question for me because I felt that it was kind of everything, really. I think it's
It
hard
would have been
to.
easy if you watched the interview, I thought.
I didn't watch the interview. No,
I
but
know.
why are you always putting me in this kind of in this in this situation with me? You're just trying to make me look more blonder than I am.
No, not necessarily. I just enjoy it.
You enjoy seeing the panic in my eyes.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. No, but I think really everything, and just having to be able to listen to a conversation between these two really great people in the industry was just very fascinating for me to hear,
Mm.
and to be able to have a conversation together with them. Um, it meant a lot. I feel like they were they were so good at explaining everything in so well, if you know what I mean, Otto.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. What
But
are you searching on?
I was not searching. I was because we have some people who don't want to get a Google account and they don't have Facebook, so they don't want to write in the chat because they're very special internet savvy techie people. So they have super weird anonymous ways of contacting me. And sometimes they write so many things that I have to tell them, like, if you want fast answers, go to the effing chat, get a effing Google account.
Oh, maybe they are scared that Big Brother is watching
Yeah.
them and everybody's after them all the time, and the Russian
Yep.
spies are coming for them.
Yep. And then you ask them, like, what do you have to hide? They're like, well, nothing really. Nothing. Yeah.
Just like my privacy.
Uh,
Oh,
no, but the thing that you asked Justin, that I really felt that, because I really like unique questions, and I mean, in one interview all the questions are unique, but I mean, when you manage to ask something that people normally doesn't ask, and you asked him what was most rewarding with
mhm.
starting Weedmaps and Weed.de, and that was a really nice question, and I mean, I'm really gonna take that with me. That, I mean, nobody's gonna succeed in this kind of lobbyism or this kind of company building if you're doing it for the short-term memory, short-term gain, short-term memory.
Yeah, for the money.
Yeah, I mean, because if you go to business school today, or if you go to a think tank or whatever, I mean, there's nobody really building companies for the company anymore. All the people are gonna give you tell you about a plan that's gonna be short term, and it's gonna be about gaining this kind of attention, and then it's gonna be about the end game of selling the company. That is what people usually do today. I mean, people dream about starting a tech business and then have Facebook buying it or Google buying it. There's nobody who's dreaming about making the next Facebook or the next Google anymore. I mean, I remember, mm, I mean, even 10, 15 years ago when I was in my teens and looking at this stuff, people were still dreaming about creating the next IKEA. Today people just want to sell their business to IKEA. And I really felt that Justin, he didn't he didn't build Weedmaps to sell it. He's not going to build weed.de to sell it. At the same point that I don't really, I mean, as we all know, everything's got a price, and I'm not a very rich person, so I would probably fall for it. But I'd like to at least tell myself that I'm not building Cannabis in Focus to sell it. I'm building Cannabis in Focus to change the situation in Sweden, and then to keep building it until into whatever it will become. Maybe Cannabis in Focus will be the weed brand in the future, or maybe Cannabis in Focus will be a coffee shop or a social club.
Yeah.
I have no idea, but I just really felt both with that question. It was a great question. It was really unique, and you could really see on Justin, like, this was not a question he was really, I don't want to say really prepared for, because of course he was prepared for it, but it was not something that he usually answers.
No.
Yeah. But yet again, let's remind ourselves, next week, Katarina Stensson from the Pirate Party will be here with me and Christian Engström. Moa,
I won't be here.
here.
I'm on the boat working.
Yeah, Moa is on a boat.
Yeah.
It's called the Titanic.
Yeah. So I'm getting killed off now. So yeah.
Moa has reached that age, so now she's getting slaughtered.
Yeah, especially really much. No, but as you know, I work at the cruise ship, and now the summer season starts, so I'm back there. Because there's no money in this business yet, so obviously we have different jobs.
The Swedish cannabis business is not where you get rich. It really is.
I mean, I have 3 jobs, so I mean, where are this big money that everybody's talking about?
Yeah, I would love to have some of it if anybody knows. Please, send me an email. No hard feelings. Or if somebody just sat on them for a while, as long as you send them over. Swish, Revolut, Bitcoins, Ethereum. Don't really care.
I'm available.
Exactly. We're also again gonna thank Dr. Herbals. If there's anything you need in Sweden that is from the legal point of view, Dr. Herbals will absolutely help you. It's a great partnership, and it's really nice to see that companies are starting to dare to back these kinds of projects. Because as you all know, Cannabis in Focus is a news site, but as you also know, I would be lying if I said that I'm anything other than a lobbyist. I have an agenda. I want to legalize cannabis in Sweden and later in Europe. But yeah, it's been real tough finding any kind of sponsorship for this. And as most of you also know, it's really hard to keep a job when you're a lobbyist for such a controversial subject as cannabis, for some fucking reason, is. Um, I
No,
can't
but
tell you how many job opportunities I've lost due to the fact that at the last stage, people Googled my name. Yeah.
they get off cannabis. Well, back to Dr. Herbal. They have great quality projects. So they have their products are very different. They have a lot, and they're all very good, and you get a lot of information about it. So I can highly recommend it.
Silver is asking where you at. I am currently living at a friend's place in Cyprus, but Moa is in Sweden, where we're both originally from, and where we are pushing our lobbyism onto. But it's a lot easier or cheaper for me to live at my friend's place in Cyprus than it is to live in Sweden. So I have done that.
Yeah.
And hopefully I will make enough money to come back one day. We'll see.
Yeah.
And so
with those words, we thank you for today.
Yeah, and also gonna mention I'm not really done yet, Noah. Because the little vaporizer we showed off a while back. I had it here.
The Oleo vape.
Give me a second.
It's a medical vape that you can get when you get prescribed. When you get prescribed cannabis, you get in Sweden either the oils or the Sativex, or you can get the buds, and then you get that vape for it. So it's for medical use here.
Yes. In a couple of weeks' time, we have started talking to them, and they will appear to show some of their new stuff. That's going to be real awesome to see. I, for one, have been pretty anti-vapes. I'm gonna say I really like the feeling of the smoke down the lungs. I know it's not very healthy, but I enjoyed it. Then I tried the mighty vaporizers. For those of you who has tried them, and I'm gonna say that they're okay. They're about the size of a fucking car battery, though. You need like a bag to carry them around. But for a while, they were the only good ones that I had really tried. And then this little player came along, and this is about. I was gonna say it's 3/4 of a cigarette packet, so it's easy to fit in even the smallest of pockets, and it does a really, really, really great job. So it's going to be real interesting to see what Oleo has to show us in the future. But like I said, next week we're talking politics with Katarina Stensson, me and Christian Engström. And later we will talk to Oleo. We don't really have a date yet, but it's going to be in a couple of weeks. We also have some patients and some... I don't know. I can't. We haven't got an okay from him yet, so I can't give up. We have another huge guest that's also coming up from the I'm gonna say American currently, but it's really the international cannabis lobbyism industry. So make sure to follow and subscribe to our channel for because if you are interested in the cannabis movement, you're gonna want to watch this. I think Moa is very ready to close this stream down and go to bed. I still have some work to do, but we will see you guys next week. Not Moa, but I will.
2 weeks, I will see you guys, and I will miss you guys so much, very much.
Yeah. And with those words, let's wish you guys a good evening and take care. Goodbye.
Goodbye.